welcome to the You Grind podcast. I have here
Stephen Michael Martin.
He was on my Grind podcast, which got hacked, and he interestingly wants to know the story of how I got hacked. And I really don't want to fucking share it, but I'm gonna share it because now I'm pissed off because I'm thinking about it. So what happened? I let my friend borrow my laptop because I'm stupid, and I didn't talk to him for a day, and he managed to hack into my accounts, and yeah, that was the end of it. I stopped talking to him after that because I didn't care about the laptop. It was the fact that he disrespected my my property, my friendship, and yeah, that's how he hacked.
What did he gain from hacking a YouTube channel that he's not on?
Oh, he was on a podcast. I guess I don't know what his intentions were. I know they're not good. I guess he thought I was going to be devastated and begging him for it back again. And it just didn't work that way. So I made a new channel.
I mean, around that same time that happened to the Grind podcast, my TikTok got hacked.
But at least you didn't know the person.
I didn't. From what it is someone in a foreign country and they're just like posting their products. I will say TikTok does not have their shit together when it comes to security.
Right.
Because they should be able to see early on, like, wait a second, this person is getting into this account from an IP address they've never used before. And suddenly, early in the morning, I get 3 emails. Just a confirmation that you've changed your email associated to the account. Mm-hmm. Just a confirmation you changed your phone number. 8,000 followers and over 5 million views later. And all my friends are basically reporting it as this is someone who's, this account is impersonating someone else. I was doing it on a daily basis. They're not taking the account down. It's just gone.
Yeah, because they don't give a fuck at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I can live with that because I don't know who the fuck did it. But then my situation, I know who the fuck did it. I basically let them do it too because I gave them access to my laptop.
But typically, when you hack an account, it's to serve some kind of purpose. It's to achieve something. What was this person trying to achieve by taking the Grind podcast?
You have to ask him. I don't know.
Can we call him up right now?
No.
Be like, you don't know me, but I have some questions. I could do that. You want me to do that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I could give you his number afterwards and you could call him, but not on here.
Actually.
What if he's the same guy who hacked my TikTok and this is one big conspiracy against the Grind podcast people?
Maybe. It could be.
Huh?
It could be.
Okay, so what are we starting with today?
We already started.
Yeah.
With me getting hacked.
What's next after getting hacked?
Oh, that you're here on a second time and I never have repeat guests. So I feel proud about that.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it to my resume.
Please.
Probably at the top of my qualifications. I was on the Grind podcast 2 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a third.
Maybe a third? 4th? I could just take over the podcast and start interviewing you.
Please.
Okay.
That'll be mind-blowing.
So we know that you're angry about the last podcast channel getting hacked. What else has you angry lately?
I'm not angry.
Okay. You seem
I'm
angry.
over it.
You're over it?
I'm over it.
Okay.
It hurt. I'm hurt, but I'm not angry.
So what has you angry lately?
A lot of things.
Go on.
You don't want to know about it.
I do.
It's not a therapy session. We're here to interview you.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it then. What questions do you have?
You said you had a cool story about AI, so tell me about that.
I do. I haven't shared this with anyone because this happened last week. I can't make this shit up. So, I answered a casting call that
on Craigslist?
Not on Craigslist. It was I think they posted in like one of the Facebook groups. Like, we're looking for individuals who basically want to be part of this film project. So I sent them my resume, I sent them my headshot. The interesting thing was they didn't have any questions about acting experience. They didn't want to know if I had been on film or TV. They just said like, do you have more headshots? I'm like, yeah, here's 3 or 4 more, even though I already sent you one. And they followed up with like you have a great look, let's book you a slot. And I'm thinking, they haven't sent me a script, they haven't told me anything about their studio or what this film is specifically, right? But they wanted to know if I had experience working with a green screen. I'm like, yeah, I've done that plenty. They're like, great, we'll schedule you for this time, come on in. And that was that, right? So I posted about it on Facebook. I put up that picture and I said I just got cast for my first AI-based film without having any info about this, right? Fortunately, my friend in LA, director of Brides of Jesus, Everything Will Be Fine in the End, my movie starring Paul Dano, Joe Bartone, he called me and he's just like, what is this really about? And I'm just like, well, they've been pretty secretive, but I'm not that concerned about it. It seems like a kind of a offbeat acting gig and I'll take it. And once I told him some of the details that I just said right now, he said, do you want to know what's actually going on? I said, yeah, tell me. He said, what they're going to do, they're going to bring you in, they're going to have you sign a contract and they're going to pay you, right? They're going to have you stand in front of a green screen, and what they're going to do is they're going to scan your body, scan your face, scan all your movements, and they're going to create a digital copy of you. They're going to use this digital copy of you to sell to other businesses to market whatever products they have. He said, now, if you're an absolute nobody, let's just say you're a college student and you want quick money, that's fine. But if you're actively working in entertainment and film, like you are, you might land a role in the future where you could make 50 grand to 100 grand for that role. But you're not going to get it because this company elsewhere already has their digital copy of you, and they could just sell it to this film for however much. You're not going to see any of that money because they own that digital copy. You aren't going to be able to do anything about it because it's technically not you, it's just a CGI representation of you that they own for like however much they were going to pay me, which wasn't very much. It was okay, but it wasn't a lot. And now you could say that's just a whack conspiracy theorist, right? Someone is afraid of AI. So I followed up with the guy who booked me for this slot. I said, I have some questions before we get started on this shooting. Are you creating digital copies of human beings and selling them to businesses to market products? And they said, yeah. Yeah, we are. And then they tried to basically smooth it over with, well, but keep in mind, we have rules to make sure that nobody steals any of these digital copies of people and then misuses them for anything inappropriate. And I think, yeah, that sounds nice on paper. However, we all know on the internet, people typically don't take rules as seriously as you would expect them to, especially if we're talking about the deep web and the dark web. Do you think anyone on those sites care whatsoever what this business's rules are? Also, let's say someone did use my digital copy for something illegal or inappropriate and put it online. Is this company who owns this digital copy of me really going to go after whoever this is? Best case scenario, let's say they did, which they won't, they would just have them take it down, right? But as we all know, the internet is forever. Once something is up, anyone anywhere can download it, screenshot it, and then just use it again for their own purposes. Now, more realistically, if this company who's creating digital copies of people uses... I lost my train of thought. I got all worked up. If they do this, chances are, once they're selling these digital copies to other businesses, why would they spend their time and resources and probably money going after people who are misusing it? They're not going to. So this is one of these stories. I'm glad that he told me very early on, hey, this is what's happening. Because as soon as I found out, oh, this is what they're really doing, this isn't an acting job so much as they are scanning me so they can own a digital copy of me and then use it for whatever they want because they own it. But I hope people in younger generations, and especially people who work in any facet of the entertainment industry, understand this is what's going to start to become more and more common. you sign a contract with a record label or a film agency or modeling company or anything like that, they're going to put somewhere in the fine print, we are also going to own your digital likeness in perpetuity throughout all the universe. And they're going to be able to use it for whatever they want. And it's going to become so common, not only will it start happening to people, probably without people even knowing it, but we're going to have no control over it. Just like we already have very little control over AI. It's moving faster than any of us can really comprehend, and it's getting more and more advanced every day.
Scary.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
So are you saying eventually they're gonna have copies of all of us and we won't be able to make money, basically?
Whether or not we can make money from it is little bit more of a social slippery slope, because that really depends on who manages what and who owns what. But you're asking if we're all going to have digital copies of ourselves. We already do.
Right.
Look at social media. Look at every picture and every reel and every video that's put up that we're putting up ourselves. Those are digital copies. The next step is bigger companies are going to want to own that, right? And if you don't read the fine print in the contracts that you sign, in this age where everyone everywhere wants to be an influencer, right? People will take probably very small money just so they can get the internet popularity, not realizing in doing that, once the contract is signed, their digital likeness and their digital copy of themselves will probably be owned by a company.
Are you okay with that?
I feel like with the whole story I just told, it makes it clear that I don't want that at all. No, I don't want anyone to own a digital copy of me. Or use my likeness for anything that is beyond my control, you know? I mean, most movie contracts, they'll have that in the fine print, right? We own this and all its likeness in perpetuity. But in my experience, typically what they're talking about is the character. So once I finish a movie, unless for some reason I get cast for a sequel, I'm done with that character. Then they can do whatever they want with that character, but technically I still own Stephen Michael Martin, the physical self, right? That's gonna go away. It's been on track for a long time. Now people are just finding ways to own it. And we are already, thanks to AI, witnessing the death of actors and filmmakers being able to get jobs. Because if all of this that I just said, this happened last week. So if there's a business already making digital copies of people and then sending them to businesses saying, don't hire actors to come in and do a job, we'll just give you these digital copies of people. You can use AI software to have them do whatever you want. Why on earth would people spend a budget to actually use people, right?
Shit, that might be when I start doing that.
Yeah.
I'm already having a hard time casting people, so fuck it.
Just use digital copies?
Why not?
So when you cast people for your films, do you typically put that in writing in the contracts that you own the character in perpetuity?
I avoid contracts at all costs.
You shouldn't, but okay.
And when I am forced to do a contract, I don't include that.
I have so many questions. Why do you avoid contracts?
Because contracts suck.
I need some more details.
But at the
that.
same time, it holds every party accountable.
Right.
Which is important.
Don't you want parties to be accountable?
Now that I'm getting more serious, yes.
If you cast someone for a film or you hire a crew member and it's the first day of shooting and they just don't show up,
yeah,
wouldn't you rather have a contract?
No, because then that means I would probably have to pay them first, right? Before the contract. Because even if I have the contract, I'm only covering the pay and their character, not necessarily them doing it. I have had people bail out on me even with a contract. So, that means, okay, well, they didn't want to be a part of this and I don't have to pay them. Done deal. Isn't that how it works?
No, but okay. If that works for you, that's great.
No contracts works for me.
So in my 13 years in the music industry, all of it has been a road that has led to taking contractual agreements more seriously. Because I've worked with enough shady people, sketchy people that I'm happy to do the job, but I just get a gut feeling like something is off about this person. And when I have a legal binding that says this is what you're committed to, this is what I'm committed to, not just professionally, but also financially, it takes away a lot of the stress that comes with what ifs.
Right.
What if this person is just off?
Right.
And I have to deal with it. I'll give you a great example. Last year, around October, I got scammed by a church pastor.
What the fuck?
Almost no one knows this story.
Holy pastor?
So check this out. The red flags were there from the very beginning, right? But I needed to take this gig. I'll get to that in a little bit. What I noticed was, every few weeks, the same ad was coming up. They were searching for a drummer, right? Mm-hmm. And I kept responding to the same ad. Hey, I see that you need a drummer. I would love to help. Here's my long list of qualifications. Here's my resume. Let me know if you have any other questions and how we could potentially get started. Never got a response via email. I'm thinking, why on earth would you post an ad if you're never going to respond to the email? Even if they didn't want me, which that's fine, but no response, even though I'm seeing that they're consistently in need of this position to be filled, right? Mm-hmm. So finally, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was one of those financial times, lots of things had gone wrong all at once, and I was like, I need something now. Mm-hmm. And this voice just came to me, check for this ad again. Boom, pulled up my phone, that was at the very top, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the first time I saw it said text only. I think, unusual, but okay. It was 3 in the morning, I wasn't gonna text anyone at 3 in the morning. But I wrote a quick draft in my phone, hey, I saw this ad, interested in the position, let me know what I can potentially do to help, right? My alarm went off 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, boom, I pressed send. He immediately got back to me, and he's just like, do you have any qualifications? I already had screenshots of my entire resume in my phone. Boom, 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 boom. Here are all my qualifications. And he's like, great, can you meet tonight? And I'm like, sure. He hasn't told me his name. He hasn't told me what organization or company or what this job even entails. It's just, can you meet tonight? Technically, I had things already booked that night because, like anyone, I have a schedule and I typically need more advance notice than, yeah, I'll drop everything and come meet a stranger. But it was one of those, okay, I will move things around. I will come meet you tonight, right? I drive to the nastiest, seediest part of my city. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this address he gave me. It's someone's house. Mm-hmm. And they're barbecuing on it's a ghetto kind of broken in house. And they're sitting out there barbecuing on the front patio. I go to walk in and this random guy is like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for this person right here. I have a meeting with him at this time at this address. And I show him the text. And he's like, no one by that name lives here. First red flag. Okay. So I'm headed back to my car and I'm having this gut feeling. I need to get out of this part of town now before my car gets broken into or worse. So I call him and I say, I went to this address that you gave me. I'm here now. They're telling me there's no one here by that name. Oh yeah, I'm running late. Just wait around and I'll get there eventually. Okay. So I'm in my car and I'm really at a crossroads. I'm like, my gut is telling me I need to leave now. If I do that, then I'm just going to be right back home in the same position I was in before this. I think I need to take whatever position this is, even if it's just for the time being, right? Well, he shows up. Turns out the real location was like on the side of this building that was just as ghetto as everything else in this part. I walk in and there's just a bunch of like dirty, shitty instruments everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, this is where we're gonna do an audition. At this point I'm thinking, an audition for what? You haven't told me if this is a recording studio, a production agency, a band, an organization. I don't know anything about this, but I'm trying to keep it professional, right? So we go in. He has no charts for the music. He has no music in general, other than like an audio file on his phone. Now, fortunately, I've been at it for so long that as soon as I hear any music, I can immediately see mentally how it would be written, right? So he turns on this audio file. I listen to like less than 10 seconds of it, boom, and I can play the beat. And then he has some more people show up. Not a lot, but it's like 6 or 7 people. Mm-hmm. And that's when I'm starting to see like, okay, this is some kind of choir. Mm. I don't know if it's for a musical or for some kind of non-profit, but it's a choir. Okay, we have figured out one thing, right? We do like a 2-hour rehearsal, and then he says, come with me outside, let's talk. I said, okay. Comes with me outside and he asks, what are your rates? I tell him my rates. And he's just like, okay. So this is what I can pay you for rehearsal, and this is what I can pay you for performances. And I'm like, well, that's more than I quoted, so I'll take it. He says, great. I'll see you next week, and we'll just turn this into a weekly basis thing, right? So get in my car, go to In-N-Out Burger, and I'm like, thank God, okay. Now I have a new source of income coming in. Or so I thought. So the interesting thing about this was the next time I met him, they were very intent. You need to sign the contract. Sign the contract. We can't start anything until you sign the contract. But how do I put this delicately? They were so unbelievably ghetto, they didn't own a printer. So they're like, well, you have to print it out on your own time and then bring us the contract as it's filled, once it's filled out. I was, okay. First thing in the morning, get up, print it out, fill it out. I say, hey, I got it good to go. Where should I meet you? I wonder if we should do something about
closed door, if
that's going to be picked up on the audio. So here's the next red flag. He's like, there was so much like intent on get this contract signed and get it to me. Well, I had the contract signed. I looked over it was pretty standard, right? Nothing in there that really, you need to show up on time. This is the money that will guarantee you for rehearsal. This is the money we'll guarantee you for performances. You need to be present at these times for these performances, rehearsals, everything pretty basic, right? But the whole day, it's not that I couldn't get a hold of the guy, it's that he couldn't give me a straight answer on where he was or where I should meet him, or the whole day I'm just like spending hours. Okay, you're at this place. I can meet you at this. Oh, now you've moved to the other side of town. I guess I can meet. Okay, just give me a location and a time so we can finish this deal that you put so much pressure on me to fulfill, right? Finally, I'm in like a nasty part of Sacramento again. And he's just like, yeah, meet me at this like random shop that when I went by there, I'm like, this building fucking looks abandoned, right? And he comes walking up. Hey, I got the contract signed. If you want, we can make a copy of it so we both have. And he says, oh, yeah, just take pictures of it on your phone and text it to me. And I'm thinking, you just needed pictures texted to you? I could have done this from home. Why did I just spend all day going all around the city for this physical contract that you're gonna let me keep and you're not even taking, right? There's another red flag. I'm not even fighting it. Boom, took a picture, boom, took a picture, sent it to him, and he's just like, great, we'll see you next week. Or so I thought. At this point, now I have a legal binding, right? And I have to reschedule studio sessions I have with people, recording sessions I have with people, different mentoring sessions I do with music business people, so that I can make sure these days are clear so I can fulfill this contract. We have one rehearsal, half an hour before it happens. I get a random call from a random number. Not his, but someone I don't know. Hey, rehearsal is canceled. Well, am I still being paid for this rehearsal? No. Okay. Again, this is a new position. I'm not fighting any of this. Next week rolls around. Get a call from him. 30 minutes before I'm supposed to be there. Mind you, I have cleared my schedule.
I would have been pissed.
I was. Because I'm following up with him. Here's another interesting red flag I had never run into. Typically, when you have rehearsals, they're at the same location at the same time every week. Interesting thing I noticed about this guy, it was a different location every single week at different parts of town. And no one ever knew what the location was until the day of. Nothing unusual about that, right? So that day rolls around, I'm just like, okay, I need to make it to rehearsal. Keep in mind, throughout these 2 weeks, I've reached out to him 6 times. Hey, I don't have any charts. I don't have any audio files, so I can show up to rehearsal, but typically I like to have the music in advance so I can know what to study and have prepared. He had none of that. I'm like, so I'm supposed to rehearse and improvise the whole time? I can do that, but that's not really going to benefit anyone, right? But I had done my part. Followed up with him, followed up with him, followed up with him. Hey, I really need this music if we're going to move forward, especially if you have performances on the books. We'll get to that in a minute, right? Throughout this whole time, never sent me any scrap of music. No audio file, no charts, nothing. Not even a reference of like, here's what the songs kind of sound like. It's just up in the air. And I'm supposed to magically read everyone's minds of what music I'm supposed to have memorized before I get to these rehearsals that, guess what, don't really exist. So, week 2 of these rehearsals, I follow up with him like an hour before I'm supposed to be there. Hey, I still haven't received the address for rehearsal tonight. I also still don't have any of the music. If I could get both those things, that would be great. It's half an hour before I'm supposed to be there, nothing. And then he sends me this weird thread of text being like, never mind, it's off, don't worry about it. But all, like, he's not saying rehearsal is canceled. He's not saying, here's a reason why it's not happening tonight. Just weird, cryptic things that are... So at this point, I'm like livid, right? Because keep in mind, this whole time, this is money that I'm depending on. And then finally, his performance is coming up. And I'm thinking, I'll show up. It's in the contract. No rehearsals have happened. I don't know any of the music, even though I've requested it. But it's in the contract. I have a legal binding saying I have to be there. So it says you need to be at this location at 4 p.m. for load-in, sound check, tuning. I'm like, okay, there's a small window of time I have to at least communicate with the other musicians involved and get some details on the music we're about to perform, right? So I get there 30 minutes early. No one is in the parking lot. 4 o'clock. No one is in the parking lot. 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock. This performance is supposed to be happening. I'm at this venue. The doors aren't even open. In fact, when I first got there, I sent this pastor a text. Hey, this is the right location, right? No response. But because it's in the contract, I can't leave, right? So finally, it's, I think, half an hour, maybe 45 minutes past when this event was supposed to start. Again, for like the third time, I walk up to the doors, maybe someone unlocked it from the inside and I didn't see, even though no one is here in the parking lot. Try to open it, nothing. A security guard sees me, and he's just like, oh, are you here for the event? And I was like, allegedly, yeah. And he's, oh, yeah, that's at some other address. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, right, I'm supposed to trust a stranger who I've never seen in my life to go to some address and assume that for some reason this is where the event is happening. And there's absolutely no risk of, I don't know, getting jumped or getting robbed, or this guy sees that I'm here by myself. And even if that was the case, I'm thinking, no, if I show up to a different location now without getting confirmation from this guy who's putting on this performance, that's just going to make me look like I showed up late, even though I had been waiting there for over 3 hours. So I get into my car, my blood is boiling. Still, I'm keeping it polite and professional. And I wrote him a stern yet fair text. Listen, I have followed through with every single detail in this contract since we met. All I need to know right now, after all this, I have 2 questions. Is this typically how you do business with professionals? And am I being paid for tonight's event since I fulfilled every detail on my side of the contract? He didn't respond for 24 hours. So the next day I'm thinking, who is this? And who am I potentially working with, right? He calls me the next day 24 hours later with just all of these random bullshit excuses. Oh yeah, the event location changed, but that's out of my control, and I didn't see your text. And I'm thinking, okay, at what point did you notice the drummer for the event is not here? Because that's not like having any other musician involved in an event, right? That's the fucking drummer. That's the pulse of everything, right? And then I'm looking at the contract, and at one point you wrote and I thought it said or, and I'm like, you are grasping at anything right now. And anytime I try to say, like, listen, I'm not concerned about any of that. All I need to know is, am I going to be paid for the time I set aside to fulfill this contract you gave me? Because one thing I need you to understand is anytime I say yes to your contract, even if those rehearsals or performances don't happen, that means I have to say no to all the other clients who need my time and my services for those, whatever they're working on, right? And he's talking over me this whole time saying, I'm a man of God. I'm a man of God. And I'm thinking, yeah, see, here's the thing. You being a man of God, that doesn't mean anything when you're cheating musicians, when you're lying to people, when you're stealing not only their money and their time. Wandering around saying I'm a man of God doesn't fucking mean anything, right? I was pissed. Here's the best part. He followed up with me 3 times. Hey, you'll definitely get paid for this event, even though there was some miscommunication. Just give me a couple weeks because I need to deposit the money first, and then I'll get it to you. 30 days go by. Now, in the state of California, no matter what job you're doing, especially when there's a contractual agreement, you cannot exceed 30 days without paying an employee or a private contractor. You can't. So I followed up with him day 31, and I said, it's been over 30 days since the event. The way I see it, we have 2 options of how we can move forward. 1, you can pay me today the amount that you guaranteed me in your contract, and I'm going to forget all of this ever happened. Option 2, I'm going to file a wage claim against you. Then, I'm going to write a detailed, descriptive testimony of my experience working with you, and I'm going to personally send that out to every contact in my network. Every musician I've ever worked with, every church I've ever worked with, they're going to know exactly what's going on. And I'm going to take that same written testimony. Keep in mind, this testimony is already written. All I have to do is press send. And I'm going to share it into every Sacramento-related Facebook group 6 times a day, every day for a year. If I'm not paid today, I'm going to move forward with option 2. He didn't even have the nerve to say anything.
Oh my God.
This was a church pastor. That's why I like to use contracts.
Fair enough. That's a good story to
Is it a
change
good
my
story?
mind.
Did you get paid though?
I have not heard a single word from him
Yeah.
in months. And here's the
Wait,
worst.
this was recent?
This was last year.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 6 months ago, but here's the worst thing about
Wow.
having experiences like that. Even if you have a contract as evidence and you have their signature on it and your signature on it, when you file a wage claim, that's great. It might take them a year, and they told me this as I filed all the paperwork. They're just like, this looks like an open and shut case. It's pretty straightforward. You have everything you need. But she said, word for word, it might take a year for us to even turn this into a case. Now, am I still going to turn this into a case? Yeah, because at this point, it's not about the money.
It's about the
I'm looking at this man of God thinking, if I don't do something about this, he's going to keep doing this to every musician in the community, and he's going to keep doing this probably to every church in the community, and then to take it a step further, that's when I realized this is why, for these rehearsals, we were allegedly supposed to jump around from location to location. This is a pastor who doesn't have a church. Can you guess why? I have a few theories.
Because he's a man of God.
He's a man of God.
He's a man of God. That's why. That's crazy.
It's a new idea for a script.
I know, right? The man of God. Okay, well, that's.
Was that too intense? Should I bring down the energy?
Well,
No, that was amazing.
I just don't expect it from a man of God.
Okay, here's the worst thing. I wish I could say that is the only time I have been burned by the church. I was a church drummer from age 7 to up until that experience with him, which was when I was 30 years. And even before working with him, I was like, I've had some bad experiences working with the church, seeing what's going on the inside. But as I said in the very beginning, this was a moment in life where I'm like, I need a gig so I can provide for myself. And that's why, even though I had that gut reaction of like, do I really want to step back into potentially working with a religious organization, a pastor, a church, even though he doesn't have one, I still went for it. And that's what happened. But the amount of stories I have collected across the years of just getting burned by the church, the one place where you would expect, hopefully, you are safe and taken care of and looked out for, come on.
Right. Goes to show that people are people,
Sure.
no matter where they're at.
That is a positive way of looking at it. Yeah.
Being a man of God and all, you know. Anyway. I'm gonna start doing contracts thanks to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That actually had the opposite effect on me. Now I'm terrified of contracts.
Yeah.
That's scary. You just obligated yourself to all this time with this random Sacramento Hojo. Which, by the way, can you tell us who he is?
No.
No, you
I don't even think you know his name, right?
I
Did
know
you ever
his,
get his name?
I know his name.
How about his church?
He doesn't have one.
He's a man of God.
He never
He's
said.
just a man of God.
He never said.
What was
the name of
his
the church.
email signature?
All I will say, and this goes for any crazy story I ever tell on any podcast, if people do enough digging in my social media, they'll find anyone I'm talking
You
about.
have to dig. You have to work.
No.
Just like on your last podcast when I talked about the #1 hit pop artist I performed
Yeah.
with. Yeah, I'm not going to say on the podcast who it is because
Yeah,
it's not a pleasant story, but if people look deep enough, they're going to find out exactly who it is. Yeah.
Goes to show that if you do something bad it's gonna be known eventually. If you do something bad or something good, it's gonna come back
Right.
in one way or another.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. The sad part is I've had similar experiences even without contracts whatsoever. 2020, good example. Whole music industry shut down. Everyone in my business suddenly had to figure out like, okay, what can we do to still take care of ourselves, right? Well, my girlfriend at the time had just gotten hired on as a music director for a church, right? They needed a drummer, boom. I was in there, we were working together, it was great. They weren't doing in-person services, but they were doing virtual services. We were helping them with the virtual performances as well as like filming the sermons, right? We were basically taking care of all of that for them because they were old and they didn't know how, right? And we were the young kids who were like, hey, this is how an iPhone works, by the way. So here's where it gets really interesting. We would do these virtual performances, put them up on YouTube. At least people could like have access to the church even if it was just through their screen. Now, we were doing a song one day and I was playing the beat. And I was feeling it like I'm always feeling any beat that I play. And then they wanted to have a meeting with me a week later. The pastor wanted to have a meeting with me. I'm like, okay, maybe it's something I can help with. I don't know her that well. I go into her office. A senior citizen who was apparently a member of the church complained to her about the facial expressions I made while I was playing music. And I'm looking at her like, this is, are you putting, this is a joke, right? She was dead serious. This was one old guy who had complained, well, we're kind of offended by the faces that the drummer makes while he's playing music. And I'm thinking, have you ever watched any musician ever play music? Because that's kind of something we do, unless you're just a boring performer who's not feeling anything that you're doing. That was grounds for terminating me. And I'm thinking, okay, I would completely understand 100% if I had said something, if I had intentionally done something to offend or hurt someone in any way. Instead, I was doing the job they hired me for, and he didn't like the faces I made when I played beats. And I thought, and this is the church, right? It was a woman pastor. She was a woman of God.
You can't even be a pastor as a female. Technically.
She was.
Technically.
She was.
Going against the Bible itself.
She was. And apparently there's nothing in the Bible that says you can't fire drummers for doing their job on the worship team for making faces while they play.
Oh, God.
That was, for me, that was the last straw. I'm like, I have given, at that point, so I was 25. At that point, I had given 18 years of being a drummer for various churches. And that was like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done. And I stayed out of it for years up until this experience last year where I really needed the position. I needed to provide for myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to step back into this and work with this pastor and his church and his organization only for all of that to happen. And now I've stepped right back out like, what am I supposed to do here?
I think God is trying to tell you to stay away.
I guess that's an odd thing for God to communicate to people. Hey, stay away from the men and women of God. Here's the ones I'm showing you. And these aren't just like fun stories. These are things that have happened in my life that have like brought me to this point of like, I've tried. I have really tried. And in the last situation I was in with that pastor who, to this day, I look back and I'm like, what was that?
Right.
And who was he?
What was even the point?
And what is he getting out of doing this to musicians? Because even after all of that, his bassist followed up with me on Facebook. And he didn't give me too many details, but he did say like, he wanted to work with me on a project. He said, we really need a drummer and I'm just like, hey, I'm happy to help with anything you need, right? And he briefly mentioned that whole thing working with the pastor, and he just said, I don't know how to describe that whole thing other than it was a complete sham. And I read it and I thought, I'm not even getting into this. I didn't want to retell that whole story over a Facebook message. I kind of just wanted to let it go and now pursue this pastor legally. That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah, I did something at work and I got fired, and I'm pursuing it legally, and they're telling me it takes about 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Were you making faces while you were playing music and it offended one person?
I wish I could go with that because that's a badass story to tell people. But no, it's something petty.
Okay.
Really fucking petty. I'll tell you off camera.
You slapped someone in the penis?
That would be considered sexual assault.
Not
No.
petty. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't sexually assault people.
No.
That's kind of just
Not
a
at work.
common
Not at
rule
work.
in life.
Right. In life you could do it, but not at work.
Yeah. I've been thinking about starting my own line of t-shirts called Don't Sexually Assault People. And it's just one blank color and it says in plain letters, Don't Sexually Assault People, period. I think it would sell.
I'll be your first customer.
Alright.
Where is it?
I just had the idea just now.
Yeah, I'll buy it. You have your first
Is this-
sale.
Is this how you think products work? We have the idea and it's suddenly right in front of us?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me know how that works for you.
It's worked so far. Anyway, you mentioned the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I wanna know all
ask
the
me the
deets.
question.
Okay, what's the story behind this?
So don't worry. After we're done with this, your name will be on that too. So it's about for all the podcast guests I have. They just sign a piece of paper, and it's my Hall of Fame. That's it. So that's the whole story.
I expected something a little more robust.
No.
Alright.
Well, I mean, it is, you know, all these names, all these signatures, all these autographs have a meaning behind it, you know. Just gotta watch the pod, but yeah.
What if I put someone else's name up there? Does the whole board go up in flames or something?
We should try it.
Okay. What if I don't put my name down, but I put like a different word?
That's fine.
Like,
I will know who you are.
Oh.
They don't need it. Nobody needs to know. I know. It's my Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Not.
I can
the
tell
Hall
you're
of Fame.
really passionate about this. Maybe just calm down.
I need to
breathe.
work on that. So being an artist, not just an artist, a professional artist, what is the best advice you could give me if, just like to work with, you know, like if you were to work with me, what is something that I must have, or a characteristic you're looking for? Yeah, so.
You know, it's been the real game changer for me since last year. Networking. Like, literally, I try to tell that especially to like young musicians and young actors. Get off your phone and go out and meet people, right? And there are techniques to it that I would recommend. For example, when you reach out to someone for the first time, especially if it's in person, don't immediately ask them for work or gigs. Just do your best to get to know them and learn more about what they do, right? Because the truth is, we're spending so much time on our phones that it's like, yeah, we have this wide range of contacts, but as we all know with the algorithms, how they work, even if you post something really great, probably less than 10% of your audience is actually seeing it. And one of my friends, great director in LA, Joe Bartone, he told me once something that has really stuck with me. He says, no matter what I put up online, the same 10 or 20 people who love me are gonna like it and react to it, no matter what it is, right? So just putting up things online, I don't think that's really enough anymore, and I don't think that's nearly as powerful as just like maintaining genuine connections with hopefully the right people. Most of the best opportunities I've ever gotten professionally were because of people I knew not necessarily because of a resume that I sent to them, or even like some, putting things up online helps, but I don't think that's really the end goal. When I got cast for Everything Will Be Fine in the End, Joe Bartone's movie in LA, that was because I had known him for like 4 years. He and I had done another movie called Brides of Jesus. And then we just sort of maintained contact. We worked on like promoting a couple music videos he had done. And we really just kind of created a bond over time that when he called me about Everything Will Be Fine in the End, that's the story I mentioned earlier. Like, he sent me a script. I had no idea he had me in mind for a role. I thought this was just a friend saying, hey, I wrote something new.
Yeah.
Are you interested in reading it? In which case I'm like, I'll read your script. Sat down, read through the whole thing. And it wasn't until I followed up with him that he was like, what do you think about this character? We later changed it to Kai. It was originally Gene. And he said, what do you think about the character Gene? And I'm like, I think he's the exact opposite of me, right? Because he had written this character that was like super buff and tatted up and always on a skateboard, and I'm just like, I'm not like that. That's why I didn't think. But then as we got into developing characters for that movie, that's when transitioned over into Kai, and I'm just like, yeah, I am gonna do the opposite of the character he wrote. Because I wasn't a tatted up buff skater. I was this scared, sad, small, beaten puppy. 20-year-old with the mind of probably a 17-year-old who just was such a people pleaser he would accidentally commit murder just to save his friends. That happens in the movie. So, yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but just meeting people.
Now let's be honest. You don't know me. And let's say you were at a Starbucks and I go up to you, introduce myself to you. Would you be interested in having a conversation with me?
Depends on how you introduce yourself to me.
Okay.
That matters. First impressions matter.
Oh, my first name. Let's just go with.
So-
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
So we're at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there with my quad shot extra hot white mocha. Venti.
Yeah.
It's got to be Venti.
Of
and
course.
and you walk up and say what?
Hi,
this is
how
real
are
life.
you? I'm Jeanette. Let's just go with the basics.
I would say I'm Steven. Good to meet you.
And then what would be the next?
That's up to you. You're introducing yourself to me, right?
Right.
So what
Fuck, I don't know.
there you go.
I'm too. It's hard to
Yeah.
go up to strangers because normally once you introduce yourself,
Not really. What I've you either find something they're doing that you have in common with, or you just ask them about something they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
People love talking about themselves. If you get people to do that, then it's almost like they take care of the conversation themselves. But that happened. I didn't think this existed anymore in this age of everyone being on their phones. But I went to Starbucks a couple months ago. I sat down, I was having my coffee, and I had Bossy Pants by Tina Fey, her memoir that I was reading. And this girl sits down, and she's just like, that's a great book. I've read that one. What do you think of it? And I'm just like, well, I'm only about a third of the way through. Right now, it's a little boring for my taste because she's just talking about how she almost ended up shipwrecked on a cruise when she got married and was on her honeymoon. She's just like, oh yeah, that part's a little slow, but then when you get past that, she gets more into like the nitty-gritty of her life. We sat there just going back and forth about books and writing and art for like 2 hours. And the whole time my mind was blown because I'm like, do strangers actually connect like this anymore?
I have an idea. I'm gonna go to Starbucks. I'm gonna bring my camera, put it on the table, order a venti of some sort, and see if people talk to me.
Okay.
Thank you for that idea. That's what I'll be doing next. You guys watch out for that. See what happens when I try to socially connect with people. Random.
Now, on that note, that would be an interesting film.
Yeah.
Artistically.
Yeah.
Art house people would love it.
Okay.
Because it would
You got that? That's
It
our new
would-
experiment.
really lean into kind of a social experiment, right? How long can I sit in one place. No phone, no book, no writing, no distraction. And just sit there quietly and see how long it takes
with
for
the camera.
any of the hundreds, if not thousands of people that come in for one to interact.
Now, I might have to do this outside of Starbucks because I'm not very fond of recording. But I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a fun
I
experience.
will, if I had to predict, I think the end result would be really sad. if I was just some guy sitting at Starbucks and I had my coffee, I know that especially women, but probably guys too, who see a guy sitting there staring forward in silence with no distractions, they would think I was some kind of psycho. What do you mean he's not looking at his phone? What's wrong with him? Should we poke him? Should we see if he's alive? But that, yeah.
Can I at least play with the camera? So I don't look like a psycho?
It's your project.
Okay. Yeah.
This idea just came to life a minute and a half ago. I haven't had a whole lot of time to
Just process it. Yeah. You're inspiring me for
And-
more content.
Creatively, it's probably better to just like have the idea and go for it, because the more you overthink it, the more you're going to
Find
dwell on
reasons
what
not
ifs,
to.
and then you're not going to do it at all.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay. Any final thoughts? Conclusions?
No.
How do
Is
you like
that-
that Red Bull?
It's a little high in sugar for my taste. I have like almost a no sugar diet right now. So starting the day with 38 grams of sugar. The interesting thing is I don't feel wired. I don't know if a sugar high really exists. I hear people talk about that all the time. I don't know if I ever
It keeps
feel
me
like
awake.
a pep of
Like
energy
when I'm
or
trying
sugar.
to sleep, like at night, like after I had a Red Bull last night. I had a podcast. I was not able to sleep after that. So it definitely helps on not sleeping.
Well, that's good, right?
Not when you're trying to actually sleep.
Right. Well, the way you phrased it, you said like it helped you stay awake when you were trying to sleep. Like,
Yeah, I was pissed the whole
Oh.
entire time talking.
Did you start
with her.
yelling at the Red Bull can?
No, because I did it to myself. I did it to myself.
And that's that. Anything else you want to know?
What do you got coming up?
Okay. April 4th, I will be on the reality show Love After Lockup. That's going to be streaming on WeTV. The interesting thing is,
Is it free? Can I just
should be
click on
free.
it and
Yeah,
watch
I
it?
think it streams worldwide, just like Apple TV or Netflix or any of those. The interesting thing is, I have gotten no details about anything on that show since the day, even the day I was there. I was sitting in a room with this guy who sexually identified as a furry, and I was like,
Whoa.
"Do you know what we're doing today?" And he's like, "Well, they
Was he
haven't-"
actually wearing a furry?
He had a rainbow tail.
How did you?
And
Deal with
and
it.
like the gloves and like a face.
Oh my god.
He was a furry, which was new for me. Anyway, so we were just sitting in a and I was like, "Have they given you any details of what we're actually doing?" And he's just like, "No, they told me somewhat of a basic premise of what this episode is about, but no script."
No
they,
script.
They wanted us to have like as little background as possible. So what I did was, and again, I don't know how they edited this together. I don't know what any of it looks like, but because I had no script and because I had no details, my only thought was, okay, so before I walk in there and the cameras are rolling, all I can really do is lean into what I think I'm pretty good at, which I realized, okay, I'm way too confident for my own good, and I'm pretty damn extroverted, especially when talking to people I had never known, which the two actors in that room, reality stars, I had never known. So I was just over the top about everything, right? Way too animated. I had this whole idea for a dating app where instead of seeing anyone's faces, you can only see their crotches. I told him, it's $1 billion idea. You can have it for free. I told him about how I had gotten accidentally, unexpectedly kicked off of every dating site imaginable. So now I'm trying to meet people by going out into the forest with flyers and just nailing them to random trees. I don't know if any of that will show up on the show. I don't know how they edited it. But ever since we finished that, I'm like, I don't know what any of this will look like. So Love After Lockup will be April 4th. The Conjuring tapes by Wolfcat Films. I was in that. I had a very short part in that, and they're having their red carpet event and their premiere for that movie at Tower Theater in Sacramento. So that's the next.
You got free tickets?
You know what's nutty? When I first got the email from Wolfcat Films that, hey, we're doing the big premiere, we want everyone to be there, and it said tickets are like $17.85 after the service fee, and I thought
$17.85.
I thought I have to. So that's my alarm. I have 5 minutes until I have to be down the road. So I thought, I have to pay for a ticket to see a movie I'm in? I don't know if that's standard or not. It's never been
Wait,
that.
$17 or $100 and something?
$17.85.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But you're
if
on
I had
there.
to pay 17.
But that you're on there.
Yeah.
Why would you need to pay to watch your own goddamn movie?
I didn't ask. And then later on down the road, we don't know when it's going to premiere, but My Movie starring Paul Dano by Joe Bartone, that's the last movie I did in LA. Last time I followed up with him, he said he doesn't have a release date, but I know this is by far unlike any project I've ever done. Just
The one in LA or the one?
The one in LA, yeah. Just the little snippets there's the music video you mentioned. It's called Tom Verlaine from My Movie starring Paul Dano. Even that gives a little taste of like, what the fuck is happening here, right? I transitioned from being a character named Printer John who only has one eye into being Robot Bear from Prehistoric Mars into a fake Paul Dano so I can swindle someone's rich uncle who lives in a trailer out of hundreds of thousands of dollars so we can make a shitty movie. That's as much as I can tell you about the movie. But those are the next 3 major projects. Other than that, just like pumping out new YouTube videos every day. I'm doing like 4
We
per
might.
week.
We might go to the Sacramento premiere. No promises. We might.
Okay.
Who knows?
Again, I've seen
Who knows?
absolutely none of that
Just
footage.
hit me with the deets.
So
if any.
I don't know what the movie looks like or what. I mean, all of that happened like a year ago. So.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But with that said, I do need to get on down the road.
I was about to finish.
Great.
Okay.
So can you tell them where to find you?
Oh, all social media is Stephen Martin Official, except for TikTok, which is now hacked. Yay!
Are
Get
you
to-
making a new one or are you just over it?
I don't really. Okay. Upon getting my TikTok hacked, after having like 8,000 followers and 5 million views later, I realized, well, for all my networks, for any of them to get hacked, TikTok would be the best one because that's the one I care the least about. That I stayed away from it forever, and then rebooted it only recently because people were like, you gotta be on TikTok. It's TikTok.
Did you
Okay.
dance?
Huh?
Did you dance? on
No,
it?
I just posted drumming videos.
You should have danced
And-
and drummed at the same time.
Okay.
Anyway, subscribe to him. Subscribe to us. He has to go. Peace.